Jerusalem swelled with pilgrims, its ancient stones humming with the energy of a festival. Near the sheep gate, nestled within the city's walls, stood a pool called Bethesda, the House of Mercy. 5 covered colonnades ringed its waters. Here, in the cool shade, a silent congregation gathered. The blind, the lame, the paralyzed, all waited, holding onto a fragile hope that the stirring of the water might bring them healing. The air was thick with quiet desperation. Among them was a man whose illness had been his companion for 38 years. His face was a map of long days and weary nights, etched with a resignation that only time can carve. He had learned the art of quiet, of waiting without expectation. His world had shrunk to the size of his worn mat and the patch of stone he occupied. Then, a figure moved through the quiet crowd. It was Jesus. His gaze passed over the many faces until it rested on this one man. In that look, Jesus saw not just the sickness, but the long ache of time, the accumulated weight of nearly 4 decades of suffering. He drew near, the moment becoming intimate and focused amidst the surrounding stillness. He looked into the man's eyes and asked a question that cut through the years of waiting. "Do you want to get well?" The question hung in the air, a simple, profound invitation. The man's gaze shifted to the glinting water. He didn't answer with a simple yes. Instead, he offered the familiar story of his failure, the excuse of almost. "Sir," he said, his voice raspy with disuse, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else always goes down ahead of me." It was the logic of a world where he had to strive, and always came up short. Jesus listened, then spoke with a quiet authority that defied the man's history of helplessness. His voice was not a suggestion, but a command that carried the power of creation itself. "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." For a moment there was only the command. Then, a feeling he hadn't known since his youth. Strength rushed into his limbs where there had been none. Sensation flooded his atrophied muscles. He pushed himself up, his movements at first hesitant, then gaining confidence. He stood. He bent down, rolled up the mat that had been his prison, and hoisted it onto his shoulder. And then he walked. The simple act was a miracle. His steps echoed in the colonnade, drawing stares. But not all were looks of wonder. The religious leaders, guardians of tradition, saw not a miracle, but a transgression. They confronted him, their faces hard. "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." The man, his mind still reeling with the newness of it all, gave a simple, powerful reply. "The man who made me well told me to walk." For him, the authority of the one who healed him surpassed the authority of the rules that had kept him bound. He looked around for Jesus, but Jesus had already slipped away, disappearing back into the anonymity of the festival crowd. Later, Jesus found him again, this time within the sacred courts of the temple. The light here was warmer, the atmosphere reverent. Jesus approached him not to celebrate but to complete the healing. "See, you are well now," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The healing was not just for the body, but for the whole person, an invitation into a new way of living. The man, now knowing who had healed him, went and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus. Their suspicion hardened into a plan. They began to persecute him, not just for healing on the Sabbath, but for the claim that came next. When they challenged him, Jesus stood before them, framed by the strong light and deep shadows of the temple pillars. He gave an answer that shook the foundations of their understanding. "My Father is working until now, and I am working." He wasn't just breaking a rule, he was claiming equality with God. The Son, he explained, does nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees the Father doing. Whatever the Father does, the Son also does. This was a divine partnership, a perfect reflection of will and action. He continued, his words building in intensity. "The Father loves the Son and shows him all he does. And he would show him even greater works, works of resurrection. Just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give. And more, the Father judges no one, but has entrusted all judgment to the Son, so that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Then came the central, life-altering promise, a threshold crossing from shadow into light. Very truly, I tell you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. To prove his claims were not his own, he called upon 4 witnesses. He pointed to John the Baptist, a lamp that burned and gave light. He pointed to his own works, the very miracles like the one they had just seen, which testified that the Father had sent him. He pointed to the Father himself, whose voice they had never heard, whose form they had never seen. And finally, he pointed to the very scriptures they so diligently studied. These are the scriptures that testify about me, he declared, yet you refuse to come to me to have life. He saw the core of their issue. They were more concerned with human approval than with the glory that comes from the one true God. You accept glory from one another, he observed, but you do not seek the glory that comes from the one who is God. Even their revered Moses, he said, the one in whom their hope was placed, would stand as their accuser, for he wrote about Jesus, and they did not believe his words. The light of dusk now falls on Bethesda. The water is still, reflecting the gentle colors of the sky. The man's mat is gone, a vacant space where a life of waiting once lay. The house of mercy had lived up to its name, but not through its rippling waters. It came through a person. Jesus didn't offer the man a better way to crawl, or a faster way to get to the edge of the pool. He offered a stronger word, a creative command that remade what was broken. He offered life itself. It was the Son doing the Father's works, right in the midst of human hopelessness. So the question lingers for us, where have you settled beside a pool of almost, waiting for the right conditions, for someone else to help, for the water to stir? And what step, however small, could you take today to simply rise at his word? Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more Bible stories. May God bless all of us.